Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey over here at the Extreme Fight Laboratory, and we're going to do an experiment today. I've got my dobok here, my Taekwondo uniform, and my black belt, which I haven't worn these in a very, very long time, like over a decade. I haven't put these things on, to be honest. I'm going to do some sparring with a couple of my students. I'm only going to use World Taekwondo Federation, the old World Taekwondo Federation sparring rules: kicks to the body, kicks to the head, and strikes to the body with the arms and hands. They are going to do full kickboxing rules and full MMA rules. So we're going to do 4 rounds, right? 2 rounds per student, 1 round kickboxing, 1 round MMA. But I'm going to stick to the World Taekwondo Federation rules the entire time. And we're going to see how this plays out. Now, one of the most common questions I'm asked on this channel is, Ramsey, how do I make my traditional martial art work in MMA? How do I make Taekwondo work in MMA? How do I make karate work in MMA? How do I make Kung Fu, whatever, work in MMA? And, well, the answer is you need the context of experience of MMA, right? You gotta know kickboxing to win at kickboxing. You've gotta know MMA to win at MMA. And when you know everything else, you'll have the tools to use your Taekwondo, your karate, your boxing, your whatever the limited style is. So without further ado, let's put on the uniform and do some Taekwondo.
Round 1, it's a kickboxing round with Xiao. We've got the boxing gloves on. Xiao already kind of has a Taekwondo sport karate type of style. He likes to move in and out, loves the high kicks and the spinning kicks. So this was an interesting matchup for him. I'm only throwing the body shots. There's the C-shaped double punch to the head kick. Made a whole video about that one. I'm trying to go very light here. I did feel my shin make the sickening thud against Xiao's skull. I really was trying to go light here. Even if you're throwing hard kicks, you don't really know what kind of effect it's going to have on some people. I remember I had a Taekwondo tournament once where I just landed a nothing head kick, just a little flip of the leg, and the guy went down. He was out. Whereas my first professional kickboxing match, I threw the hardest, heaviest head kick I could, and it didn't slow the other guy down. So you never really know what you're going to get with a kick. So when you do light sparring, you know, it is a fair assessment. You just keep going. So on to the technical commentary. This first round is kind of a feeling out phase for me because this is the first time that I've done Taekwondo rules type of sparring in a very long time. Now, Xiao is not following the Taekwondo rules. He can throw leg kicks, which is my biggest concern here, and punches to the head. Now, I'm evading most of the damage by keeping my right hand up when he is throwing punches, and I have to use my footwork fastidiously. Xiao landed, I think, about 3 leg kicks in this round that I felt for the next couple of days, after which I started getting a lot wiser to the positioning. I think I liked the subsequent rounds more than this one. Spinning back fist right there. At this point, Xiao is kind of claiming the center of the ring. Those arc kicks, crescent kicks come in very handy when you can't throw punches to the head. Xiao's trying to block a side kick with his arms. Didn't work out so well. A lot of people wonder why Taekwondo players keep their hands down when they are competing. And the main reason, besides simply observing other people doing it and repeating it, monkey see, monkey do, a technical reason for it is to bait the other person to kick at the head. So the lead arm predominantly protects the body, and when you understand the distance, the range of kicking, and you're outside of kicking range, you can't get kicked in the head, regardless of the position of your hands. So it's a baiting position where you bait the other person to throw a kick at your head so you can counter-strike them. Sport Taekwondo is very much about counter-striking. All right, here's Chi. Chi's a little bit bigger than Xiao. Has a more traditional Muay Thai type of style. He's been training with me for a few years now and made massive improvements. And in this round, I've made massive improvements in my footwork here. Trying to sort of create a wall of footwork. What I mean by that is just constantly changing the angle while trying to control the center of the ring. It was the one solid punch he landed on me while I threw that arc kick or crescent kick or whatever you want to call it. And the job of the lead foot, whether you're fighting from an open stance or a closed stance, orthodox, southpaw, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most important aspect of footwork in Taekwondo. Really, all striking arts, but especially when all you can do is kick, or the predominant thing you can kick. I can punch the body, and I do some of that in these rounds. But predominantly, under World Taekwondo rules, yeah, we're talking about kicking. Use those. We used to call those butterfly kicks, those double roundhouses. Not to be confused with wushu butterfly kicks. I know not everybody who trains in Taekwondo calls them that, so let me know what you called those double butterfly roundhouse kicks in your Taekwondo school. I would be interested to know that. A body jab. Body jabs can condition your opponent to expect body jabs. I think at one point in this round, without thinking, threw a leg kick, and Xiao started chastising me. Side kick up high. There was one side kick I threw up high. I don't remember if it was this round or the MMA round where I got Chi right in the neck. Oh, there was the low kick. Deduct a point. Deduct a point. But yeah, you really have to focus on counter-striking. Evasive footwork and counter-striking if you are using this particular rule set to fight against somebody who is not using this particular rule set. When you don't have the option of punching the head, man, your setups change substantially. My belt is starting to come off.
Belt is loose. 3 seconds.
Just chuck that thing aside.
Time.
The round is almost done. Little Hail Mary, what do we call that? Tornado kick at the end. Got caught in the ropes. The next round. This is an MMA round with Xiao. So now I've got more on the table. Xiao is now thinking about setting up takedowns. And he's not super big on takedowns, although I have seen him take down some guys, some bigger guys as well. I mean, when he really wants to grapple, and here he goes. He attempts a clinch. When he really wants to grapple, yeah, Xiao can do it. But the strategy I'm using in this round and the subsequent MMA round to avoid getting taken down has a lot to do with the position of my lead arm. It's very similar to a Philly shell, so when the person shoots in, that lead arm turns into an underhook. And you can use that underhook to then fight the takedown, essentially stand your opponent back up. You gotta use a lot of fakes. So lifting the knee, just chambering the knee, is essentially how every Taekwondo kick starts, every last one of them. There's a barrage of body punches and elbows. Yeah, you can throw elbows to the body in Taekwondo. At least you could when I was competing. I don't know what the current rules are. I guess the sport is officially called World Taekwondo now, as opposed to the World Taekwondo Federation, because people thought WTF was a silly acronym. Xiao coming in with a barrage of punches to the head to set up his clinch. And he's doing a pretty good job of working with this takedown, although he could have got it if he starts pulling instead of pushing, especially since my back is up against the ropes, which are helping me to balance. So I'm able to pummel my way out of that. And yeah, you can throw crescent kicks from inside a clinch. I do that frequently, trying that double punch again, but Xiao wisely moves back. He's trying the, what do we call that? The dragon tail sweep. It's one of his favorite moves ever since I first showed him that. Xiao actually pulls that off quite a bit, that dragon tail sweep these days. Evasive maneuvers with the head. Yeah, it's actually pretty hard to kick Xiao in the head. You gotta set those up really well. I'm maintaining a little bit more of a square stance than I would in a Taekwondo tournament. Little axe kick. Yeah, the axe kick is a hard one to do when you're playing light, because you kind of have to throw a half axe kick. At least I do, because I don't have like Chloe Bruce level of control over doing the splits up in the air and then pulling them down slowly. So I've got to kind of pull the axe kick halfway. And the same thing with a turning back kick. It's like, for me, that's a really hard one to do light. And so I'm throwing some sloppy light ones from time to time. But yeah, Xiao commented afterward that he was kind of surprised at the weird angles where the arc kicks and the crescent kicks would come in. All right, here's Chi. Chi just received his blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's come a long way in grappling. So I'm more concerned about Chi's grappling attempts than Xiao's in this round, because he's kind of become a problem on the ground. And if I can only use World Taekwondo rules, there's literally nothing I can do if this match goes to the ground. So Chi wisely shoots in for that clinch. Again, my lead arm was low, so I'm able to turn that into an underhook. And it's not illegal to pummel. It's illegal to clinch. Now he's clinching, I'm not. He's got that side headlock. And so I'm going to cross face, break that clinch, move to a position where it is harder for him to clinch again. Ooh, hook kick right to the side of the head. Evasive maneuvers. Now, there's a lot going on with the footwork here. People call it switching stances, but it's really just putting one foot in front of the other or one foot behind the other. Because in Taekwondo, like orthodox and southpaw doesn't really exist. You've got what you call an open stance and a closed stance, because the other person is always switching one foot in front of the other, and so are you, and you've got different techniques and strategies that are available from an open and a closed stance. So when I made the transition from Taekwondo to kickboxing, the whole idea of orthodox and southpaw was just very weird and foreign to me. I used body punches a lot when I was competing in Taekwondo. I know most Taekwondo guys don't, because it's hard to score with them, but I found it was a really useful technique to control the space. And sometimes, you can score with it if you hit really hard. Knock him back, make a big sound. But it is a space control type of thing. If you really understand the range of, oh, that was that neck. Side kick right to the neck. Chi didn't like that. He's going in for another shot. But again, I've got my arm low, so that can turn into an instant underhook to help me fight off this takedown. And that's not technically a Taekwondo technique, but he initiated the clinch, I didn't, so it's all legal. Oh, she's trying to pull guard on me. He's like, I will get you to the ground no matter what. If I have to pull guard, so I push him up against the rope so his body weight cannot bring me to the ground. Throw some body shots. Ridge hand. Haven't used one of those in a while. Another ridge hand to the body. Had to bring out the ridge hands, man. It's a technique that I never used in my MMA career, but in Taekwondo, yeah, man, that was like one of my go-to breaking techniques. and the Hail Mary spinning kick combo to finish the round here. So that was fun. That was a trip down memory lane.
So let's talk a little bit about what happened. The first kickboxing round, Xiao, talk us through that from your perspective. What happened there?
I was surprised by the sort of movements you're doing because I haven't seen you use them in kickboxing before. I understand you try to avoid scaring new students too much with advanced kicks in kickboxing sparring, and you try to do the stuff you teach in class, so you avoid some of the advanced stuff. But man, I've always had a hard time with Taekwondo and karate fighters because usually it's me using those types of movements on guys who can't do it, but I'm not used to seeing it done back to me. So I had a really hard time.
It's way different. The reason I wanted to do this, the reason I was really thinking about this is because we had a conversation about my first kickboxing match yesterday after class. And I came from a Taekwondo background, extensive Taekwondo background. I felt my Taekwondo was really good. And a lot of people have this experience. A lot of folks who watch this channel have told me about this recently. There's a guy, I forget which country he's from, but he was a national Taekwondo champion in his country. Like high-level black belt, super good Taekwondo, and then he did kickboxing for the first time. Same thing I did. Joe Rogan had the same experience. And he just got mollywomped. And he was like, my Taekwondo is useless. What happened? I thought I was good. And it's not that the Taekwondo is bad. It's just that you develop this very advanced skill set from these very limited tools, and then you try to fix a very different problem that those tools aren't meant for. It's like trying to use a screwdriver where you need a wrench. And so this experience is very different. Like both of these guys are actually better than the first guy I competed against in kickboxing. And he just stomped me. Why? He had a karate background, so he had an understanding of that traditional martial arts thing, but he also had a little bit of boxing experience. And that gave him the edge. Like he knew what it was like getting punched in the face, he knew the distance and the timing for punches, and I didn't. And that made all the difference. So Chi, the first kickboxing match, what was that like for you?
That was overwhelming. Because I tried to get into close range because I know that's where my range is. Like you're like a side stand, side kick me and keep me in the right distance. And it's like you have a spear at your hand, and I only have a short knife, and I can't get close. So I was like helpless.
Yeah, it's funny because again I'm going in with limitations, and it's very, very important to spar with limitations, but with a deeper understanding of the objectives here. Like I'm painfully aware of exactly what Chi's options are, right?
Yeah.
And Chi, how long have you been training for?
1 year and a half.
About a year and a half, yeah. And I remember first time I sparred with Chi, and the dude had a lot of heart, and he just kept coming back, and he's improved a ton since then. And yeah, he's one of my favorite training partners now, especially in jiu-jitsu. Like this guy, like his guard is really coming along, getting harder to pass every day. But yeah, that is really interesting to hear you say it's overwhelming. Even though you know it's just going to be kicks to the body, kicks to the head, maybe some punches or elbows to the body.
It's like I can't get past that close range. There's like you build a wall around us.
Yeah, and you have to. That's exactly what it is. You build a wall with your footwork. Because if you want to be in range to get kicks to the body, kicks to the head, and strikes with the arms to the body that you don't have to pay for with dire consequences, you have to build a wall with your footwork.
And plus, I don't have that. Same background you did. I don't know where the kicks are coming. I feel it's like coming from everywhere.
Oh yeah. A lot of guys in modern combat sports learn kicks to the front kick, they learn the round kick, and maybe a side kick or a back kick. But Xiao, you were kind of shocked when I was throwing like axe kicks and arc kicks from like clinching range. And you gave me this look like, what the heck is this witchcraft? What's going on here?
I know how arc kicks work, but I wasn't aware of how you can pull it off at close range.
Yeah.
You have long legs too. That's gotta help.
It does. Long legs are useful, but flexibility and timing Timing even more important.
I'm completely confused with axe kicks. I don't use them. I don't see people who use them.
Yeah, a lot of people, most people don't.
But it's not always a perfect axe kick. It's like a hybrid of a front kick and an axe kick. And
Yeah.
a snap kick.
Especially in sparring like this, because like the axe kick is probably the hardest kick to control because there's a downward trajectory. And so if you throw an axe kick with power, like lift it up as high as you can, then try to drop it down, you know, like doing your best impersonation of Andy Hogue, you're not going to be able to control that, and you're going to nail somebody with the heel or with the foot, the ball of the foot, depending on which style of axe kick you're throwing, and it's going to hurt people. So you kind of have to throw like a hybrid one if you're doing slow, controlled sparring, not trying to damage people with it. But yeah, most people don't train the axe kick or they don't use it because it takes greater athletic attributes than most people are willing to develop. And a lot of people feel like it's not worth my time. I would rather invest that time into getting a good round kick or a good boxing, and that's not necessarily wrong, but everything that makes you a better athlete, flexibility, speed, timing, position, all those things you need to get good at axe kicks crosses over into every other kick. Like if you're flexible enough to essentially do the split standing up, which is what an axe kick is, every other kick is going to be better, even if you never use an axe kick. This is why in the warm-ups for the kickboxing classes we do here, I always do axe kicks, moving across the floor doing axe kicks. And then, you know, straight leg arc kicks. Why? It's a stretch. It's a dynamic stretch to make you more flexible, more pliable, and faster. So let's talk about the MMA rounds. So both of you tried takedowns, and I pummeled for underhooks and crossface to get out of there. What was that like? How was the MMA round different than the kickboxing round? Here, Chi, you go ahead and start since you did the last round.
I tried to clinch, but you put your hands like under, put the frame under, so it's still hard to take it down, or even get an advanced position. And there was more like time for clinching, and so I think that's the main difference. Otherwise, it's quite similar with kickboxing.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for wrestling experience,
Yeah.
I would have been toast. Like after the first 20 seconds, either of you, if I didn't have wrestling experience, excuse me, again, I would have been on the ground helpless, right? So, again, it's not because of a great understanding of Taekwondo that I didn't go to the ground. It's the wrestling, it's the grappling, it's because I understand this other stuff. Like, I made a video a while back about, some people were asking me, like, how do you make Taekwondo work in MMA? How do you make karate work in MMA? And the answer is, you train in MMA, right? You train boxing and wrestling and Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu and all the other stuff so that you can use your Taekwondo. Shao, what was the MMA round like for you?
Not much different. I
Yeah.
almost got a takedown. I
Yeah.
think. Apart from that, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, I was very tempted to grab the ropes and cheat to stay up, but I was like, no, I will not. I will lift up the hands. And, but yeah, you came pretty close there. And Shao's been working a lot on his takedown game recently, so yeah, pretty proud of that. He did
Forced
some.
into it.
Yeah, you were sparring with Jacques, who's like literally twice your size yesterday.
Yeah.
You guys did like, what, 4 or 5 rounds? I don't remember. A lot of sparring. Was it 6 rounds? It was a lot, man.
It was 4. It was
4. Okay, felt like 6.
5-minute rounds too.
5-minute rounds. And you got some takedowns on him. That was nice to see. It was
Taking
nice
down
to see.
consistently. He's gotten so much better at popping back up though.
So Shao's definitely getting better. Yeah, what would have been interesting maybe not that interesting to see what I would do under WTF rules on the ground, on my back, inside control, on the bottom. I mean, I could still technically punch the body, that's legal, as long as you're not holding, but yeah.
Try to get up.
Try to get up, and that's about it. That's about
Break
it.
the clinch.
Yeah.
And Taekwondo is a style I greatly admire, and it just saddens me that so many people in that community are so dogmatic about it, and that their style is so incomplete. They almost refuse to evolve. Kwang Kicker says the Cookie Wang is apparently working on a complete system for Taekwondo. They're working on it, whatever that
A
means.
lot of people have
It's already
made
out
efforts
there.
with that. I mean, yeah, it is. Like there's Guan Gyokdo and several other Korean kickboxing styles, which are the rule set is very similar to what do we call it? Muay Thai. But again, most of the fighters come from a Taekwondo or a Korean traditional martial arts background, and so it's a very niche sport, but it's cool looking if you got to see it. I mean, there's not a lot of it. I remember, I don't even know if there's still like a one Gyokdo organization. It's got another name, but like 20 years ago I saw this and I was like, whoa, cool, I want to do that. But nobody was doing it anywhere in America at the time.
Yeah. Well,
But it's a fun idea.
Muay Thai guys can get dogmatic about their kickboxing style too.
Yeah, everybody gets dogmatic about their styles.
A lot of Taekwondo practitioners are so amazing in certain techniques, have amazing technical proficiency, but their style is just so incomplete. Nobody can be a zero in skill sets that are required in the fighting style they compete in, be it kickboxing or MMA.
Yeah.
No one can get away with being a zero in boxing, wrestling, or ground fighting. Just going from 0 to 1 is already a huge step in progress.
Yeah.
So it saddens me that so many amazing Taekwondo practitioners are wasting their talents away by being a zero in other areas.
Yeah, this is something we were talking about yesterday as well, how if all you do is train boxing, right? Let's say you want to be a complete fighter, you want to be a mixed martial artist, but you think, I'm going to train boxing until I'm the best boxer, right? You're going to get to a point pretty early on where you're like maybe an entry-level professional level boxer, right? And to get better, to reach the next level, you're going to have to invest very heavily in boxing, and your progress is going to be slight. It's like strength training, right? You go from a beginner lifter to an intermediate lifter to an advanced lifter, but to advance from an advanced lifter to an elite lifter, that's like a full-time job. And the gains from that point are very small. Like the newbie gains are huge. You go from weakling to strong. The gains from beginner to intermediate, those are pretty big too. You go from, pretty okay to, a pretty strong hulking brute, man. And then advanced, that's nothing to shake a stick at, right? But once you're really strong, getting stronger takes a lot of effort for a small amount of reward. And it's the same thing with martial arts skill sets. So if you want to improve your boxing, you've got to invest all your time in boxing that you could be spending learning to kick, learning to clinch, learning to wrestle, learning submission fighting, learning everything else. Which is why it's good to cross-train and all this stuff, but at the same time, if you want to be a complete fighter, train for the sport of MMA. Do MMA sparring. Train MMA-specific technique. The chaining together, the striking with the clinching, with the takedowns, with the shots, with the ground and pound, with the submissions. Chain the stuff together. That's what it is. It's the link between the styles. And it doesn't take a tremendous amount of time to get good at linking that stuff. So, yeah. Other observations, Chi?
No.
Something you were saying about being dogmatic.
What is that?
Dogmatic is when you are
教条.
jiao tao. Dogmatic in Chinese. I probably said it wrong. But
You did pretty well.
for those of you watching online who may not know what dogmatic or jiao tao means, it's when you're really stubborn in your ways. You're fixed in your ways. You won't change. You believe you're right and everyone else is wrong if they contradict what you believe, right? And there's something very appealing about putting on a uniform, putting on a black belt, telling everybody, I'm a 3rd degree black belt, because it makes you feel special. It makes you feel like you're a step above the average person. And the reality is it means that some guy felt like you had pretty kicks, or you could do the forms well, or you could break enough boards, or your sparring was okay, within the confines of whatever your martial art was, and nothing else in the universe, like literally nothing else in the universe. So, yeah, probably the most common question I get asked on this channel, I don't even know what I'm doing with this belt. I'm gonna wear it as a necklace now. There we go. Probably the most common question I get on this channel is, how do I make my traditional martial art work in MMA? And the answer is, you put in the work to be an MMA fighter. Like, really that simple. My first professional Muay Thai fight, I did like 3 or 4 pro kickboxing matches, and I decided to give Muay Thai a try. And there was this guy who was 20-0 in pro Muay Thai. Like most of those wins by knockout. He was several weight classes above me, tough dude. And my experience at the time was still basically just Taekwondo with a few pro kickboxing fights. And yeah, and I wasn't doing too well because I still didn't understand the boxing part of the kickboxing, just the kicking. Didn't really understand the leg kicking. Didn't understand the setups or the timing or the distance, right? And so I went on YouTube, and what did I do? I did confirmation bias. That's when you try to look for something to confirm what you already believe. And I looked up all the fights I could find of Taekwondo guys beating kickboxers or Taekwondo guys beating Muay Thai guys. And I'm looking at this thinking, I'm going to draw inspiration from this. I'm going to do what they do. But what I didn't realize at the time, and I really should have because I had the blinders on, was I'm looking at guys who are pretty good at Taekwondo fighting guys who suck at kickboxing. And in a few cases, guys who basically did what I did today, guys who are pretty good at Taekwondo, and they're also well-versed in everything else that's going on in that situation. And so they're not surprised by the punches. And that wasn't me, but I'm projecting myself onto that. So what happened? I got knocked out in like half a minute, and it sucked. It was embarrassing. It was damaging, and yeah, it was no good for anybody except my opponent. He got another win on his record, and he got paid, right? He was pretty happy about that. He got a highlight reel on his, another clip on his highlight reel. But if you want to be on the right side of the highlight reels, right? What do you have to do, Xiao? What do you have to do, Chi? Something very simple. Just a few words I say at the end of every one of these videos. Get out there and train.